Views expressed by Casters Guild members are only the opinions of that member, and that could change from day to day. Guild members may use mature language, but that in no way means they are mature. Listener discretion is advised.
Player's Handbook, $49.95. Set of polyhedral dice, $7.99. Custom 3D printed miniature, $19.99. A night of saving the world with your friends, priceless. There are some things money can't buy. For everything else, there's D&D Beyond. And that's the spell we're casting tonight on Casters Guild. Thank you for tuning in tonight's episode of Casters Guild. I am your guild master, Rick Perry, and I have been using the same ratty dry erase map grid for the past 12 years.
And I am your guildmaster, Baron Kane, and I can't remember the last time I bought a character sheet.
And joining us tonight is a new guild member. Feel free to introduce yourself.
Hi, I am Discord Dad or Killer Christmas Tree.
And tonight we are talking about ways to save you money at your gaming table. Sometimes we don't always have the wallets that we would like when it comes to planning our D&D games and other TTRPGs. So we just want to give you some tips and tricks on if you're trying to make that dollar stretch.
So, yeah, I would say the easiest way to do it, don't buy anything. Just make up your own game, put it on a piece of paper. Get some dice that you find at your local flea market. Just use a D6 system. You're good to go. Boom. Easiest way to do it. You just pay
free.
$1 for hours and hours of fun.
It's practically free.
Practically, it's asking to be just that. But I'm sure there are some people out there that just want to play on an established system with some good dice. And
look, if it's got to be D&D, right?
Right.
The first thing that I always tell everybody is the beginner rules are free on Wizards' website. Wizards has never made it easier for somebody to start playing D&D than it is right now. You can go to their website, you can get basic rules, you can make characters up to level 3. They even have pre-made characters for you there already. You can print out character sheets, so as long as you have a printer, that's free. Or if your local library lets you use your printer, that's pennies. And then if you really can't afford dice or somebody can't gift you some dice, there are hundreds of number generators online. You can actually ask Google to roll you a D8 or a D20 or a D12, whatever you want nowadays. So even if it has to be D&D, you can still do it for free.
Absolutely. So like I know we're actually kind of just starting out kind of broad, but we are a group of humans here who are arguably humans. Who are, I guarantee you we've all tried to cut some corners. We've all tried to save a couple bucks on what we do when we game. What do you guys do? And I'll tell you what I do too, but what do you guys do to save a couple bucks? Whether it's just a couple bucks or, hundreds of bucks. What do you guys do to try to save some change in this hobby of now just that could be hundreds of dollars to play?
Honestly, the biggest thing that saves me money is I don't buy the hardcover books. No physical books. PDFs are way cheaper. The digital books on D&D Beyond are like $20 cheaper than any hardcover book you'll find.
Yeah.
The other thing is, I will say, if you're going to go the D&D Beyond route, if you have a regular gaming group that you play with all the time, chip in for it. If you get a Dungeon Master subscription and then get a player's bundle, which is usually severely discounted when you buy it as a player's bundle, you probably are looking at spending it a couple $100, but split between however many players, that can get really inexpensive. And when you create a campaign link on D&D Beyond using that Dungeon Master subscription, everyone who clicks on that campaign link can use every book in your collection. So
now, I would probably say, talk to your game group before you spring that on them.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Don't just do it and be like, all right, guys, you each owe me $20.
Right.
Like, even if it's not buying the books as a gift, like, the DM account is just $5.99 a month. So even if you just chip that in to help them keep that account.
And that is a hell of a resource, too, that DM account. That's a hell of a resource. That's something that, I don't even really DM on the regular, and I have a DM account just because. But yeah, so I think one of the biggest things I do is when I actually do use miniatures, I don't use miniatures. Like, I have miniatures. Well, for one thing, I hate using miniatures. It's all theater in the mind for me. But, I get it. There are some people that use miniatures. If I was to do a con game, I'm using miniatures. That's the only way they're going to do it. But I use candy. Way cheaper. And when the players actually beat the monster, they get a treat.
It really makes you fight for that last blow.
Yeah, it really does. It really does.
I totally am a miniatures guy. Like, I think this has a lot to do with my first edition being 4th edition, and that being a fantastic miniatures game. A lot of people say not a fantastic role-playing game, but definitely, unarguably, a fantastic miniatures game. But I have found plenty of ways to cut costs when getting miniatures for my miniatures game. There is a tabletop box game called Zombies, and you can buy 100 zombies that are the correct size. You can get them glow-in-the-dark, gray, green, all different colors, and you can usually get the bag of 100 zombies for like $20 or less. So I bought a bag of 100 zombies, glow-in-the-dark zombies, over 10 years ago, and to this day I'm still using them. If I need to show 8 goblins, I don't have 8 goblins, but I've got 100 zombies. So I'll plop 8 zombies on the board and just go, pretend these are goblins. Or pretend these are city guards. Pretend these are skeletons. But man, when they actually are zombies, it works out great, because I'm just like, look, they're zombies. And on top of that, when it comes to the miniature stuff, I actually have a lot to say about miniature gaming on the cheap when it comes to D&D. Like I said at the start, I've been using the same dry erase map grid for 12 years now. If you can get yourself a halfway decent dry erase grid, you have every map you'll ever need. It just takes a few minutes for you to give a rough outline on some dry erase marker, and you've got a spot to put your minis on it. You just get one that's a decent size. You can find them on plenty of online retailers for not very expensive at all. There are several where you'll spend about $10, get like 3 mats, all the markers you need, a bunch of tokens, all that stuff included, and you've only spent $10, and you've got, like I said, every map you'll ever need. Then, like when it comes to gaming with miniatures, like Brad was saying, they don't all have to be miniatures. I have a crap ton of extra D6s that I'll use, especially when I need to individually track certain enemies' HPs. Like, if I've got City Guardsman number 1 through 6, sometimes it's easier to use some D6s than it is to use the zombies. Because I'll put the number 1 up, the number 2 up, the number 3 up, and then the players can say, okay, I'm hitting number 3, or I'm hitting number 4. And it's easier for me to track their HP that way, because I'm not just trying to track their positions on the map. They've got definite, different signatures, if you will. So there's lots of different ways. If you're creative, if it fits in that block on the grid, or if you're looking for a large, if it fits within 4 blocks on that grid, you can use just about anything. Heck, I've used a Beanie Baby before as a cloth golem for my players. So there's all kinds of different stuff you can do.
As far as miniatures go, my best advice is don't do what I did. Don't go to Miniature Market and buy the full cases to get one of each.
Yeah.
Because that will rack your money up so fast. And then COVID happens, and you don't even play in person. So they just sit on your shelf and collect dust.
That's rough. Yeah. Definitely been there before. And the other thing is, when you buy lots like that, you're going to get so many miniatures that you'll never use. Like, if you get one of everything, there are so many times when you're not going to need one of everything. You're going to need 6 gnolls or 8 kobolds. You don't need one of every different type of beholder.
Right. Yeah, one beholder. Yeah, I don't care what anybody says. You got all those different beholder types. If you got one beholder miniature, you're good to go.
It works. I mean, honestly, you're ahead of the game if you've got one beholder miniature.
Right. It's either that or you're going after one of those chocolate oranges that I get on Christmas. That's
I'll tell you, they recently, I don't know if you guys remember, they came out with like die cast set of miniatures for D&D, and the scale was just slightly too big. Like, I went out to the stores, I saw the collections, I was like, I'm gonna buy all of these, because these, like, for die cast miniatures, metal, these are actually pretty cheap, but they were just big enough to be frustrating that you couldn't use them on a 1 inch by 1 inch grid.
But can use them for is terrain. You need some statues in your cave.
That's
you
true.
Throw little bastards in there.
That's true. The other thing is there were a couple of enemies, like the Mind Flayer was a little big, but still fits in a 4x4. So if you need a large Mind Flayer, which there are quite a few large Mind Flayers, there you go. And they had a beholder. And that is now my main beholder, because it's just slightly larger than a standard beholder, but it still fits in that 4x4. So, and it's got a nice little floating stand on it too. So like I said, you can use just about anything.
So I guess beholders are just a little chunky in Rick's world.
Yep.
Nothing wrong with that.
I always imagine Xanathar especially to be a little chunky anyway. I mean, like, he's been resting on his laurels for quite a while.
Hey, look, if we could get a big old chonky red dragon, we can get a big old chonky beholder, too.
Too true.
In terms of miniatures, too, I have a good suggestion. If you do miniatures, and let's just say you got your miniatures, you're good to go. You got your bag of 100 zombies, you're good to go. Now you want to throw some terrain in there. Best place to go for terrain, pet store.
Oh, yeah. I have a couple pieces that belong in a fish tank.
Yep. Oh, man. You go to the aquarium section, you got terrain for days. Oh, yeah. Repaint them. Mm-hmm. You know, you got your little castle in there. It looks a little goofy. Looks good in the aquarium. You repaint that. Oh, you got Snake Mountain from Masters of the Universe. It's great.
I've got a Skull Mountain that's, like, perfectly sized. And I've used it for, like, the entrance to the Tomb of Horrors several times.
Perfect. Yeah, and that's one thing I'm going to keep saying throughout this whole thing. You don't need official stuff. You don't need name brand stuff. All right? When you go in there, you don't need to get the craft stuff. You can get the special select stuff. It's fine.
I think that might come a little bit, like, our willingness to adopt non-name brand stuff might come from our backgrounds too, because back when D&D was young, there was no official stuff. You couldn't get Wizards of the Coast miniatures. You couldn't get the Wizards of the Coast battle mat. You couldn't get official dice or official anything except the books. The books were official.
Which, again, thank you, modern popularity. Thank you, because you are bringing some nice stuff. You know, now that we're making all this Casters Guild money, we can go out and buy all this cool stuff. So, you know, it's cool that this modern popularity... You know, Eddie Munson, thank you for bringing all this popularity back to D&D so we can get all this name brand stuff now. Casters Guild money.
That might be the best joke you've ever told. Check out our Patreon, everybody.
I will admit, not like the urge to buy the name brand stuff, especially when you get right into it and you're like, oh, I'm gonna get all this stuff to impress my friends. Like, that's why I got so many the miniatures. Was I'm like, oh, this will be so cool looking when we play. And then you either can't do it in person anymore, or you realize what a horrible money sink it is.
I think the worst thing one of the worst things that I would need to amend myself to. One of the worst things that Wizards ever did was those blind box miniatures that they did.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god! When I was running my game store, we would have people come in and they would buy all the boxes just to complete the set, and I'm just like, you know what? Thank you, but
I've never done it to try to complete a set, but I love the blind box miniatures.
They're evil.
I love them for two reasons. One, it brings back the feeling of when I was young and I was opening Pokemon cards and I didn't know what I was going to get until I opened it. And like, there's that thrill of opening something without knowing what's going to be in there. And two, every year when there's someone who wants to buy me something for Christmas and has no idea what to get me for Christmas, I'm like, blind boxes.
They do make good gifts.
I'm like, blind boxes, because no matter what, if it's something I already have, once again, chances are you're going to need more than one city guard. So sure. Even I don't mind doubles. If it's something new, that's cool. And I'll find ways to use it that it's not intended to. You have no idea. I have a great big Remoraz miniature, and you have no idea how many times that thing has stood in for something else.
Wait, how many of us have that Remoraz? I'm pretty sure I have one too.
I think it's a common.
Yeah, I have one.
Which is why it has stood in for many things in my game. Like, giant worm. No, Remoraz.
It's a dragon this time. Deal with it.
I think the only time I've went out and bought a specific miniature was I was doing a campaign, and the end of the campaign was a young white dragon. And I went out and bought a young white dragon and then painted it. I think that's the only time I've ever bought a specific miniature and just put the real time into making it look really cool. And it was really impressive when my players saw it. Like, when it hit the table, they loved it, but I definitely wouldn't be doing that for every encounter.
Right.
Another thing I'd like to point out, if you are a dungeon master, especially if you've been a dungeon master for a very long time, it is of my opinion, and if you can't do it, you can't do it. But if it is of my opinion, you should be making the bar of entry as low as possible. So when it comes to my table, and when I am DMing for new players, I always gift them the first set of dice, so they don't have to go out and buy dice. If they want to, hey, that's on them. They have another one free from me. And I always make sure they have a miniature for their character. It might not look exactly like their character, but I have what I call the Bag O Heroes. It's a bunch of miniatures that I have that look like they could be adventurers, and I go, pick from here, and this can be your miniature for the campaign. And I always make sure I have a character sheet for them. They don't have to go get it. I've always got extra pencils, extra dice. I always make sure there's food when they come over to my place. So the only thing they need to bring is themselves. Now, I have never had a player who hasn't ended up falling in love with D&D and buying a bunch of the stuff and ended up bringing it over. But I always make sure if they're going to play in one of my games, they don't need to pay anything. And I would urge any DMs out there to make getting into D&D as inexpensive as possible for any players in your table.
Now, that is all well and good, but now that this DM is going to go out and buy all this stuff, where can they go to save some money?
Dollar
because
Tree.
if they're buying for everybody, they need to go someplace cheap to buy this stuff.
Dollar Tree.
Mm-hmm.
Dollar Tree started selling polyhedral dice sets, and I think that's fantastic. You can now get... They're not amazing sets. Like, when you pick them up, they feel a little light. But for a free set of dice for your player, $1 for you, that ain't bad. Also, miniatures, once again, Dollar Tree, there is always little army men type toys, but they have way more than just army men. They have fantasy heroes, they have special ops guys, all kinds of stuff you can use for miniatures at the Dollar Tree. And then, like I said, I've been collecting blind boxes for quite some time, so I've always got some extra hero miniatures lying around. But there's, of course, plenty of places to get all that kind of stuff, especially if you're going to be buying for all your players. Look for lots, LOTS, lots on online. Amazon, eBay, stuff like that. You can get sets where you get like 10 sets of dice or, like I said, 100 miniatures or whatever for really cheap because you're buying in quote-unquote bulk.
I'm just gonna sing its praises again, because books are expensive, and especially, like, if you have a party of 4 people, and they all go, oh, I'm playing D&D, I need to buy the player's handbook, and this book that my race is in, and this and that, and I want these spells, I need this book. Just D&D Beyond, you have all that. Like, I run so many games throughout the week, and I've introduced quite a few new players, and just being able to give them those books right off the bat, no entry fee at all, it's like that. I wish I would have had that.
Yeah. I will say some of the big places I would recommend, especially if you are like, us who don't just play D&D, go to DriveThruRPG. DriveThruRPG, you can get PDFs, which are generally cheaper. You can get paperback versions of books, which are generally cheaper than the hardback version. And you can get the hardback versions, which are generally the same price as they would be, but you have other options. DriveThruRPG is a great place to go to. Also, there's a place near me, but I'm sure that anybody listening, has a place near them that is very similar. I have a place called Half Price Books. And that may seem like, oh, well, just books? Well, guess what? They have game books. They have miniatures. They have dice sometimes. They have a bunch of stuff for your resource development on gaming. Just period. A lot of D&D stuff. A lot of old edition stuff. I went in and they had this isn't practical because it was more expensive, but they had a Unearthed Arcana, like an original Unearthed Arcana from AD&D, and way more expensive, but available. And then thrift stores. I've found D&D stuff at thrift stores. I've found terrain stuff at thrift stores. Generally, anything that you could use as a miniature probably wouldn't be there, but it's a great resource too. So definitely, if you're going out and you're definitely trying to help your gaming group, you, the DM, are trying to get your gaming group the best possible stuff, but you don't have the money to do it, definitely look into other options. You can't just go to your local, again, support local game stores if you can, but guess what? Some of us don't have the money.
Mm-hmm.
Some of us absolutely do not have the money to just go and blow $300 on 4 books, some dice, and some miniatures. So do what you can. And at the same time, this is about having fun, not about breaking the bank. That's not what this is about.
Yeah, I always try to buy something. If I go into an FLGS, I always try to buy something before I leave, but it's usually not something super expensive. It's because I don't have it, like a lot of us don't. I also want to kind of piggyback off of a couple things that you said. When it comes to DriveThruRPG and D&D Beyond and other places where you can get PDFs like that, nobody likes a bunch of junk mail, but sign up for their mailing lists. Get the emails, because you will get emails about sales that they run, which they run so regularly.
That's legit, actually. That's a good idea. I hadn't even thought about that.
Mm-hmm. You'll get notifications. This book's 50% off. This book's 75% off. This book's 25% off. This weekend only. Buy these 3 books together. Buy 2, get 1 free. All kinds of different sales. Thrift stores, check your overstock stores too. Places like Ollie's, Bargain Hunt, the kind of stores that get the overstock or get the stock that didn't sell from the big box stores like Target, Walmart, stuff like that. Those die-cast miniatures I was telling you about earlier, I saw them originally in Walmart, and I didn't buy them because they were full price, and like I said, they were a little too large. But later, I saw them in Bargain Hunt, one of those overstock stores, and they were $2 a box. So I bought the whole collection, because at $2 a box, you can't really beat that deal.
Right.
I actually was in, and this isn't D&D, but I was in Bargain Hunt not that long ago, and they had a Warhammer 40k starter set with Space Marines and Chaos Marines. And
dang.
Yeah, and I think it was like $60. And with all the miniatures that were in there, that was a steal. I didn't pick that up just because I haven't really played Warhammer 40k a lot. But point being, you can find that kind of stuff at those stores. Another place I would recommend checking out regularly is Kickstarter. Kickstarter can be kind of a mixed bag, and sometimes you don't know what it is that you're signing up for. But I have some 3D terrain, and all the 3D terrain I got off of Kickstarter, and I got a massive amount of terrain, all for about $80 just because I helped kickstart it. And once all those stretch goals hit and all the extras hit, I ended up with a bunch of stuff that I didn't even pay for just because of stretch goals and stuff like that. Also, you can find things you'd never expect, like gaming tables we've talked about before are super expensive if you're going to own one of those, prestige gaming tables, one of those heirloom quality gaming tables. But I wish I knew their name right now. I might look them up before we end. But there's one that's doing pretty quality game tables for only about $300 or $400 on Kickstarter right now. Ones where you would normally pay like $1,200 for. So $400 might still be a little steep for somebody who's looking to game on a budget, but for someone who's looking for a gaming table for a long time and looking at that $1,200 price tag, $400 sounds pretty nice.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially if you have that group that's willing to all go in together and stuff like that. I mean, that's kind of a harder sell because only one of you is going to keep that table. But
I would also say it's not just about gaming paraphernalia, right? Sometimes it's about some of the other expenses. So I live out in the middle of nowhere, and one of my regular D&D campaigns died just because people had to drive an hour to be at my place every week, and it just kept getting canceled because things kept getting in the way. And so in order to save everyone some gas money, we've decided we're going to start up on Discord. Discord, I gotta say, has really impressed me. I didn't really start using Discord until the podcast, and all the features that you get for free, sure, you can get Discord Nitro and pay a little extra, but all the features and everything you can do on Discord for free is insane, especially if you're trying to do some TTRPG gaming.
Absolutely. That's pretty much since the crisis hit has been exactly how I've been gaming. Strictly through, I think I started out on like Google Meets or something like that, but then Discord happened and it was like, oh, this is
Google Hangouts started to want us charge us money.
Oh, that's right.
And then we were like, what's this Discord all about?
Yeah, old man that I am have tried to use Discord a few times before that, and I just couldn't. It just wasn't clicking for me. And then, necessity came in and was like, here's how you do it. And I'm like, oh, thanks, necessity. I'm sure our guest has some opinions on Discord.
Yeah, I use Discord for pretty much all my games. Because everything is online anymore, and like I have my personal Discord server, and I have like 5 or 6 different groups that I run games for or play with. We use Roll20 for the tabletop and everything, but yeah, Discord has been amazing for voice and everything else.
Yeah, that's actually how I first knew you. Was your name was Discord Dad? So it's like, yeah, you have an opinion or two on Discord, I'm sure.
Yeah, the majority of my friends I've made on Discord.
Yeah, I don't think I'm to the point to where I think maybe no. I don't think I've met new people on Discord, but there are definitely groups out there. There are TTRPG groups and channels like our guest here, where you can meet new people who love the hobby. And that's actually probably another really good way to save some money is talking to other people, figure out what they are doing, borrow their books, however that may be. And that's it too. Don't be afraid to ask to borrow books. Someone will let you, but obviously don't be a dick to their stuff.
Yeah, borrow books, borrow dice, borrow pens, pencils, character sheets. If you have somebody in your gaming group who's nice enough to let you use their stuff, be nice to their stuff, but don't be afraid to, take advantage.
Yep. You might know someone who has access to a couple PDFs that you can use. It's a community. I think that's really what this comes down to, is tabletop role-playing has been very much a community to me. And communities, in my opinion, they're a way for people to get to know each other and have a place to feel safe and stuff. But they are there to take care of the quote-unquote weakest members of society. So you have people who can't... You will have people who love the hobby, but they just can't. They can't go out and buy these books. They can't go out and buy these things. And as a community, it's up to us to make sure that we still welcome them into this community and help them with the tools they need to be able to thrive in this community. So turning that on its head, don't be afraid to ask to borrow books. Don't be afraid to let people borrow your books. Yeah, I know I've been burned. I've let people borrow my books and it's never come back. But to be fair, I believe that I've borrowed books and they've never made their way back to these people. For one reason or another, I have a borrowed book in my collection. I can't even tell you which one it is now, I'm sure. But don't be afraid to let people borrow stuff. Don't let people be afraid to let people have access. I mean, if you got to know the person, that's fine. If you know the person, then you at least know their situation and know that they need to borrow the books. So, don't be afraid to reach out. Don't be afraid to help out. It's going to save everybody money in the long term. And you've already spent the money. You've already spent the money. You're already getting what you want out of it. You've already gotten what you need out of it. Pay it forward. Pay it forward.
Yeah, and even if you don't have... Let's say you're the first person in your group of friends who wants to play D&D, and you don't have somebody who you can borrow the books from, don't let that scare you off either. If, like I said, there's plenty of ways that you can get into this hobby entirely free. A quick Google search will find you plenty of resources. I did want to talk a little bit about virtual tabletops, kind of coming off of Discord. Yeah, we talked about, we use it for video chat and voice chat, and I also like to use Discord channels, like text channels, for like in between game stuff. If somebody wants to do things with their character, like that's not during the game, love it.
I'm all about playing pretend in between games.
Yeah,
I mean that's really what role playing is. We're playing pretend. I'm fighting a Minotaur right now in a game that I'm playing on Discord. No dice rolling. We're just playing it out. I need to respond to that, by the way.
But there's plenty of other tools you can use other than Discord. Roll20 is probably the most popular one. Roll20, for me, I tried using it. It was a little intimidating. But don't let that stop you. There's plenty of YouTube tutorials to tell you how to use it. The only reason I'm not using Roll20 is the amount of time I need to put into it in order to become proficient at it is not time I have with my current career and everything else I've got going on.
True.
Another member of the Casters Guild Discord recommended to me a site called Tableplop. Tableplop.com. They also had a YouTube tutorial, but it was pretty short. I watched that, and I have begun building my new campaign on Tableplop, and it's pretty easy to use. Gotta be honest.
And it's a fun name.
It is. And nobody in your group will forget it, too. Like, if you're like, hey, just join me on Tableplop. They're gonna remember.
Roll20 is definitely intimidating. Like, I still don't understand the fog of war, the dynamic lighting, any of that. And half the time, the reveal tool doesn't even work. But it's like, same with the align to grid. It's like, I've just started finding maps that don't have grids. And I just don't bother, because half of their things don't work. But it's like, if you ignore the things that don't work, it's a good system.
That's... You know what, though? You just... you just summed up tabletop role-playing to a T.
Yeah, in general.
Ignore the things that don't work. Don't listen to the fundies. If it doesn't work for you, ignore it.
Don't listen to the fundies. I have never in my life heard a rules lawyer described as a fundy, and that is fantastic.
I'm just on Twitter too much. I should not be on that fucking site. Oh my god.
Oh my! I love that. That's amazing.
If you don't want to play D&D, don't play D&D. It's like, look, I'm going to play D&D, and I'm going to do what the fuck I want to it. You know why? Because I paid $50 for that fucking book. I'm going to do what I want.
This book is my bitch. I'm not its.
You'll be lucky if I don't bust out Werewolf the Apocalypse and call it Dungeons and Dragons, you bitch. I'll do what I want. God damn, man. Fucking hate people sometimes. Which, by the way, oh yeah, I can't even really call them grognards because I would technically fall into the strict definition of grognard.
Sure.
You know, because I'm from that old generation. I play the old games, but I like the new games too. So it's like, yeah, I guess I'm a grognard, but at the same time, it's like, am I a grognard though? Because it's whatever.
I feel like the grognard system also works the way like the uncle system works. Like, you've got the creepy uncle, but there's also the cool uncle. Like, you know, it's like, so there's the creepy grognards, but there's also the cool grognards who are like, yeah, 5E's kind of neat.
And it is kind of neat. But I'm also, you know, not one of those guys that tries to make everything Dungeons and Dragons. You know, there are other systems that I play, and I don't try to take them and make them Dungeons and Dragons. It's... Though, if all you have is one game system, let's just say you just have the 3 core books, and you want to play, say, Werewolf the Apocalypse or Cyberpunk, and all you have is this system, man, do what you need to do.
Bend it to your will.
Yeah, you'll figure it out. You'll play that until you can afford you a nice Cyberpunk Red book. You know, just do what you can. Don't let people bitch at you. Yes, there are other systems, but if you can't go out there and afford another $50 books, just use what you got.
So, what systems, like, I know there are a lot of systems out there that you can play for cheap. What systems have you used that are not expensive?
Look,
just in general, there isn't a bunch of dice, there isn't a bunch of books. What systems have you used that somebody could get into gaming for pretty cheap with?
Look, I got it right here. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
You're going to go to, if you want to just do a little search on the interwebs, just go to GS Howitt, so GSHOWITT.itch.io. You have a whole website filled with free to use, like, one-page RPGs.
Nice.
Now, you may be thinking, Baron, why would I do that? That doesn't seem like very quality stuff. Well, guess what? If you want to know how at least one of the games is played, there's a group online. I can't remember what they're called right now, but they play a whole game called Honey Heist. I think they're kind of famous. I think critical something. I don't remember. But yeah, they play a whole game called Honey Heist. If you want to know how it's played, go and listen, because you know what? It looks like a lot of fun, and it's free. It is free online. You go to that place, free online. And I'm like legit scrolling through their stuff right now, and there's so much stuff. You know what? The page does have some pay stuff, and they're like $10. This one looks cool. Warrior Poet, duel with battle haiku in the last days of the Empire.
That does sound really cool.
One Last Job, a tabletop RPG about swearing at each other.
That one sounds like it might be a fun one to play for the cast.
Oh, no, here's what I want to play. You ready? Trashkin. This one's free. Play a half possum, a goat girl, a raccoon man, or a rat boy, and plunge headfirst into a grotty world of low-caliber adventure fun and no profit.
You know I don't need an excuse to be a raccoon man.
Contains 2 full spell lists, Bin Wizardry and Luden Luda necromancy. That was hard to get out there.
It's a rough one.
Because why not? Yeah, that's it. I mean, come on.
KCT, you know of any cheap systems?
I mean, a pretty cheap one is just Monster of the Week, because it's 2 books and it uses a D6 system.
Which means you could get the dice anywhere.
Yeah, like, who doesn't have a board game and you can just use those dice?
I've heard really good stuff about Monster of the Week, too. It sounds super fun. I have sung the praises of the game that I'm about to talk about many times on this podcast, but you can go to dreadthegame.wordpress.com. Dread is a horror tabletop game. You can get the 4-page reference pamphlet that contains all of the rules for free. You can get the PDF of the book for $12, and that includes not only all the rules, but other ways to play, tips on playing, and several adventures that you can run. And you can get the paperback book for just $24. Then the only other thing you need is a Jenga tower. Jenga towers you can get just about anywhere. They're super cheap. There are places I've been to where companies are giving away Jenga towers for free as merch to advertise their business. So all you need is that free 4-page pamphlet, possibly the $12 PDF, and a Jenga tower, and you'll have one of the best horror games that you'll ever play. I've never successfully run a D&D horror game that actually felt scary, but Dread actually has people like on the edge of their seat scared.
Another one I just found out about. If you've anybody listening, if you ever heard of the Fate system, I was first introduced to the Fate system playing the Dresden Files. The basic core rule set, and you can go places with this core rule set, by the way. The basic core rule set, physical copy, $5. $5 for the basic copy, free as a PDF. The Fate system is great. I love it, especially if you are into like a storytelling role-playing game kind of situation. Like you are there, this is a role-playing game. It's great.
Another place you can go if you're looking to save some money, you can check out Geeky Clean for this week's Dragon Deal. You can get a Clone Friend peach scented bath bomb or a Soap of Dragon's Blood scented bar soap, each for only $4 a piece. Each week there's a new awesome Dragon Deal that you can check out using the link in the description below, or you can save an additional 10% when you use our discount code Guild Decree. But yeah, we all know we love D&D, but there are plenty of other places you can go when you're looking to save money. And I'll be honest, like I said with Dread, some of these games do certain things better than D&D does anyway. So if you're looking to run a particular type of game, you can always just Google horror TTRPG or cyberpunk TTRPG, steampunk TTRPG. Look for the genre that you're looking for, stick TTRPG on the end of it. After you Google that, you're going to find resources for these games that don't cost as much as D&D does because they aren't made by a great big company that are going to do what it is that you're looking to do.
Yeah, I will say that I was on one of the coolest systems, or coolest games I ever found. I was on, is it Giant in the Playground? Anyways, I was on their forums, and they had a full-on 3.5 Avatar: The Last Airbender conversion. So like they made Avatar: The Last Airbender to fit in the 3.5. And this is back when there wasn't a Avatar: The Last Airbender role-playing game.
Right.
So yeah, there's people out there pumping out free resources.
Also, for educational purposes only, I would never recommend that you do this. But, you know, if you just search D&D Player's Handbook PDF free, you know, you can usually find somewhere that PDF is downloadable at no cost to you. Now, you shouldn't do that. It's for educational purposes only, because, you know, you need to pay for these things. But that's something you could do, technically.
I like cyberpunk, so that should tell you how I feel about that. Do what you gotta do, chummers.
I mean, if we're talking other systems for like horror games too, like Grim Hollow is really good. Like that's another one that's great. There's a lot of body horror, so if you're not into body horror, probably not the game for you, but that's another one that's not really D&D. That's a really good game.
Yeah, that's a good source. And that actually made me think too. Keep an eye out on like board games. Like certain board games out there. It may not seem like a good resource for a TTRPG, but I mean, I have a board game that is essentially just a one-person TTRPG. D&D put out board games. You can take board games and turn them into a role-playing game. I have a game, my favorite board game, Red Dragon Inn. That could be one of the best fucking RPGs you've ever played in your life. You get a character out of there and you start role playing that character that you pull. Oh my god, it's the best of times. Best of times. Don't drink along with the characters though.
Speak for yourself. Even if you never end up playing that game, there are some tabletop games that if you can find them inexpensive at like flea market, thrift store, overstock store, a lot of those components can be used for your tabletop games. Like sometimes like they'll have some nice dice or some nice miniatures, maybe even some dungeon tiles that can be used, or maybe there's like a little book with a story in it that you can turn into your next campaign. It's all about not only being like, hey, you can get this resource for cheap. Sometimes it's about finding any resource you can.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's about how can I take this thing and reuse it for something other than its intended purpose.
Absolutely. I think that while it may not seem like I get it. There's a lot of people out there, especially again, this is where the new popularity coming into play is a detriment. Because with this new popularity, you have people out there who are getting all the new stuff. They're getting all the cool toys. They are getting out there and getting the limited edition stuff before anybody else can because they have the money to do it. And then they show up at games with all this cool shit, all this cool stuff. You're going to feel intimidated because it's like, I don't have this cool stuff. I can't game. Fuck that. Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you show up to a table and you have people that are like, oh, you don't have, these meteorite dice, you can't play with us. It's like you don't want to play with those people. You don't want to play with. They're not there to play. They're not there to play. They're there to flop their tiny dicks on the table and try to look important. Okay, that's all that is. So yeah, don't let this new wave of popularity intimidate you from, getting the cheap dice from Dollar Tree and showing up to play. Don't let the dice goblins intimidate you from showing up with one set of dice. First off, the dice goblins aren't going to do that. True dice goblins are going to give you a set.
Yeah.
You're going to show up with one set of dice and they're like, oh, honey. And they're going to hand you a handful of dice. You're probably going to get about 20 D8s, 1 D20, and whatever. You're getting a handful of dice. That's all you're getting. You're probably also going to get a Crown Royal bag. That's all there is to it. Also, showing up with the Crown Royal bag, not only is that cool, that is actually traditional. So that's cheap. Someone's got a Crown Royal bag they'll give you. I guarantee it.
Oh yeah, I have so many dice bags that I could give to people.
So many.
I actually get upset with my wife now. She'll get these little blind bag things on the internet. Like she'll see somebody scooping rocks or scooping gems or some other creepy thing online, and like she'll buy a blind bag of something. And then after she sorts through it and gets everything she wants out of that blind bag and puts it all up on our walls and our shelves, she'll throw away the little bag, and I'm like, what are you doing? Stop, we need that. Because I'll take those little bags and I'll use them as dice bags to give to people when I give them their first sets of dice for free.
That's awesome.
Which speaking of the Crown Royal bag, I've never used a Crown Royal bag as my dice bag, but I do have a brown Crown Royal bag from a bottle of maple Crown Royal, I want to say it was. And I use that to keep all of my extra sets of dice in. So when I give people their first set of dice, I break out that brown Crown Royal bag, and I'm like, dig through here, find yourself a set of dice that you like.
Oh, here's the cool thing. If you want a Crown Royal bag and you don't necessarily drink, best way to get one, go into a bar if you're 21 or up. Go into a bar. They probably have some that they're just waiting to throw away. I'm not even kidding. They probably have Crown Royal bags that they're just waiting to throw away. Just ask. Ask if they've got one. Be like, you know what? I'll buy overpriced Coke while I'm here. Do you have a Crown Royal bag? Guarantee you, getting a Crown Royal bag from a bar is still going to be cheaper than going out and getting your own bottle of Crown Royal.
Yeah, and on top of that, even if they don't have one, if they know you're looking, like sometimes they'll go, no, but we get our next shipment in on Tuesday. Come see me Tuesday night.
Right. Exactly. And if you're afraid of just going in because you don't ever go in there and you don't spend money and you don't want to feel like you're just going in to get free stuff, I guarantee you know someone who goes to that bar. Ask them to go in and get you a Crown Royal bag.
One of the best dice bags you'll ever have.
Sturdy.
Spacious.
Oh, yeah, spacious, too. It's definitely... Every dice goblin should have one. 100%. Every dice goblin should have one.
Oh, definitely.
Mostly because it holds the most.
Right, exactly.
That made me also think, you're also going to see a bunch of people who have, like, dice towers and really fancy dice trays. And it's like, you can buy you don't need a fancy dice tray. You can buy, like, a game mat from your local game store for cheaper than most dice trays. Just like one of the trading card game mats will work just as well, if you even need one. Like, most of the time you don't, unless you're rolling metal dice on your friend's imported wood table.
The only time I've found dice trays to be necessary is I've had a couple wild rolling players. Like, players who like to, like, put some spice on their roll, and, like, the die will end up halfway across the table. In which case, you know, you give them the dice tray, and you're like, keep it in here.
Yeah.
That way we're not trying to track down your dice.
Yeah.
I have a certain murder hobo who likes to chuck her dice everywhere. Which, by the way, I'd be remiss. My daughter's birthday was yesterday, so I'm giving her a happy birthday. Guild member, The Spawn. So if everybody would like to give her a happy birthday, you know, email us, and I will let her know that you said happy birthday.
Absolutely. And on the note of the collectible card game playmats, you can also just go to Staples and find yourself a halfway decent mouse pad.
Oh yeah, they've been. It's funny. Is like it used to be. You know, mouse pads were just these little things right here.
Mm-hmm.
You've got full desk fucking mouse pads now.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. It's like I don't know. I almost think that someone somewhere was like, oh, I'm here playing Magic, and all right, now I'm not playing Magic, and I don't have a mouse pad. I'll just put this on my desk, and then realize it's like, oh wait, this is nice.
I can almost guarantee that's exactly what happened.
This is what happens when nerds take over the world. You're welcome.
I actually have one of those giant mouse pads on my desk right now.
Yeah, I'm using one of my old card mats as a mouse pad.
I'm telling you, you can. It's exactly what people have done. I think even I was using a Dice Masters play mat, which are generally small. I think they're smaller than the the Magic the Gathering ones, but
a little bit, yeah. I think they're a little bit taller, but not as wide.
But yeah, so I was using that for a little while before I felt like I was starting to get a little carpal tunnel, so I had to get a little cushion on it. And Wizards of the Coast is trending? Why?
D&D 1 just dropped some more stuff.
Oh yeah, I was reading that earlier. It's gonna be interesting.
There's stuff I like, there's stuff I don't like.
That's every edition that comes out, though.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's like, anyone is entitled to their opinion. I 100%. Everybody is entitled to their opinion. But you know what? I will play anything. I can play anything.
Yeah.
I can play anything and make it enjoyable. That should be a good challenge for any DM out there. Pick a game system that everybody fucking hates.
Mm-hmm.
Now make it enjoyable.
Yep.
I've done it.
Mm-hmm.
It got someone into gaming. And for some reason, he still likes that system. What a fucking weirdo.
Look, man, forfeit it on. Yeah, like, and a lot of the stuff I don't like about D&D 1 is easily changeable. Like, the way they handle crits in D&D 1 is just like, why? Like, you can't crit on spell attacks anymore.
Yeah.
Like, only.
And look, guys, anyone listening out there, you know how you fix that? Yes, you can.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Very easily fixable. That's what I'm talking about. Like, a lot of the stuff I don't like is just so easily just like, tweak. All right, done.
Yeah, again, it's like, again, I'm on Twitter too much. So it's like, I see all these people who are like up in arms, and it's like, just, you don't like that?
Change it.
Don't do it.
Yeah, you know how you don't make your players use an action to draw their weapon? Same thing.
Don't do it. Do you like goblins to be a completely evil? They're just mischievous and going around raiding villages, and you don't want them to be good guys in any way? It's your game. Do what you want. I don't care. If I don't like it, I'm not going to play in your game.
Mm-hmm.
I'm probably not going to play in your game anyway. So why would someone be upset about my opinion? I don't like your game. Well, you can't play in it. You live in California.
I wasn't gonna anyway.
I don't know you. You live in California.
Thank you for disinviting me.
Right. Didn't know you had an open table there, bud. Also, welcome to Casters Guild, where we don't really stay on topic very much.
It's still D&D.
It's topic-ish. Topic light.
It's topic adjacent.
Topic adjacent.
There's something else I had written down for like ways to save money. It's like kind of related to the online tabletops. Is a way to not have to buy miniatures is there is plenty of free art AI that you can make an AI art of a character and then just use like Token Stamp is the best free online token maker I've found. I use it for everything.
Absolutely.
If you want to personalize that character, Hero Forge has an entirely free character builder where you essentially make a miniature. You don't have to order it. You can make as many as you want, and you can use that for your character art.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Absolutely. I believe I did that for a while, actually.
Yeah, I've done that several times.
But and let me just kind of run off of that, because I know that there are people out there. Again, I'm on Twitter too much. There are people out there who are up in arms about all this AI art going around. It's like, look, guys, some people can't afford to pay an artist.
Right.
If people are paying artists for art, guess what? They're not going to stop to have AI do their art exclusively. That's just not what's going to happen.
Mm-mm.
I have used AI art for fun, for gaming, for whatever. And guess what? I still pay artists for art. Why? AI art is cool, but it's never going to be as cool as art, as someone doing art for you.
Right.
But guess what? Guess what? Some people can't afford to pay $100, $200, $300 for a picture of their character that is probably going to die in 3 weeks.
If you can afford it, please pay an artist to do it. But if you're listening to this episode this far, you probably can't afford it anyway. So yeah, AI generated. That's not
an insult either.
No, that's not shade.
I had to go years before I could afford to pay an artist for art.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not because they're overpriced. Artists are not overpriced.
Mm-mm.
They are putting in work for something. they deserve to be paid, and their art is good.
Also, I'm really bad at describing what it is I want to an artist, so I can use the AI generators to get a basic idea and then hand that to the artist and be like, I want something kind of like this, but do this, this, and this instead.
Mm-hmm.
And like that's helpful too.
Oh, perfect example. One of my favorite characters I've ever played, I had an artist do a full picture of. The picture I gave her was from Hero Forge.
Mm-hmm.
I made my character in Hero Forge, and I was like, this is what he looks like. And they made him, and it was great. And you can't compare with a human touch. You can't.
Mm-mm.
So all these people out there are flipping out because of AI art and everything like that. It's never going to replace human art. It's never going to replace human art.
Mm-mm.
And the one other thing that's kind of like just brutal honesty, the more AI art people are using, the less they're stealing your art.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Yep. That's true. That's true, because, I mean, I'm fucking guilty of that. I'm guilty of seeing art online and being like, you know what? This looks good for a monster.
Yeah.
This looks good for a monster.
100%.
Yeah,
Mhm.
screenshot.
Yep.
Now, I've never taken someone's art and then used it to make money.
No,
Yeah,
no,
like-
no.
But-
no. But people have.
Mhm.
Yeah.
People have. Of course, there are people making money off of AI art now, too. Like, I've seen people posting obvious AI art and tried to say it was their art, and it's like,
Bro.
Yeah, that's where the I think that's definitely more where the issue comes in.
My brother in Christ, please.
Yes, I drew this kobold that has a leg, tail, and human face.
right. Ugh.
But yeah, there's tons of places to get those resources. I kind of want to go back. I was trying to make a point and then I derailed myself. This doesn't just go with gaming paraphernalia. You can find other ways to help cut costs of the gaming. It's not just going to Discord to save your players some gas money, but if you are meeting in person, I always like to have dinner for my players. Like, I make dinner for my players, and that saves them money from having to buy snacks, having to buy dinner that night. You can work out a schedule with your gaming group too, or even kind of all pitch in. I mean, like, the classic is everybody pitch in for pizza, right? And that saves everybody money when you can all work together and kind of do a communal thing. And that works for snacks, for gaming supplies, for anything that it comes to costs for gaming.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I could do a whole episode on how to save money on game snacks and stuff. But yeah, I mean, the same applies though. If you're going to a game and you guys wanted to do snacks, I mean, save money on that too. There's no reason why you should go crazy on stuff. You know what? Perfect gaming pizza? Little Caesars, guys. Little Caesars.
Especially if you've got somebody who the Little Caesars is on their way to wherever it is that you're playing. Like, if Little Caesars is in between their house and your gaming table, you throw them some money, they pick up the pizzas on the way. It's perfect. I've always said Little Caesars is so underrated as a pizza. Like, if you get it when it's still hot, it is delicious.
Mm-hmm. Also, their Detroit style pizza is mwah. So good.
I don't think I've had that. The Detroit, is that new?
Could be. I don't know.
I
don't even know if that's what they call it, but it's what it is.
They have one.
It's their deep dish rectangle pizza.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't know that was Detroit style, but yes, I do love that pizza.
Right.
They have one that comes out like limited time and then goes away and then comes back every once in a while. That's a pretzel crust with nacho cheese instead of pizza sauce. And like, somebody needs to be beat for that pizza for how good it is. Like, I'll eat 4 of those by myself. That's a diet breaker.
Yeah.
I think every time I got together in person with my friends for D&D, I would buy pizza if I was hosting. It's such a good staple for game nights.
It's cheap, it's filling, everybody likes it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You go out and get that. You get a couple 2 liters of Faygo. You're good to go. Don't knock Faygo. It's good.
Where else am I going to get pineapple soda?
Oh, pineapple Faygo is so good. Oh. I like their cream soda too. The cotton candy is a little much, but
As someone who barely drinks soda, that sounds horrifying.
the cotton candy Faygo is a little horrifying. It's a little horrifying. But yeah, there's all kinds of ways to just you can still have a good time and save money. It's not hard. You just kind of gotta. I will say that there is a point to where you kind of have to step back and be like, do I need to? Do I need this? Do I need this? The answer is probably no. I mean, quite honestly, if you have the core rulebook and some dice, you don't need it. I'm not kidding when I say that. Okay, I was kidding a little bit when I said I've never bought a character sheet, but honestly, I mean, where is it? Where are you? Yeah, here it is. Playing a White Wolf game right now. Here's my character sheet.
For those of you who cannot see, he is holding up a piece of lined 3-hole punch paper, the same kind that you would use at your middle school days to write your reports on.
Yeah. Best part is my XP log is on the same paper. So my character sheet comes with an XP log too. And a whole section for notes.
Because the only point of a character sheet is reference. It's so you remember what your character stats are, what they're capable of. So whatever you need to do to remind yourself of that, if you just write it down on a loose piece of paper, that's fine. There are also way too many online resources for creating characters, not just D&D Beyond, but there are plenty of others where you can keep your character sheet digitally or get a PDF, save it to your computer. Or, like I said, if you've got a printer, print it. If you don't, your library might let you print some stuff for pretty cheap.
Oh yeah. Your library is an amazing source, and I actually am horrified that it's taken us this long to come to libraries as a resource. But your local library is probably your best free and or cheap resource for tabletop role playing. Because you may even be able to get a space there to play.
Which, for those who are looking, that could be one of the hardest things to get.
Oh gosh, yes. Yeah. Yep. It's very, very hard to get a physical place to play. I mean, yeah, you have your home, but you know what? Some of us don't have large homes to be able to host large gaming groups. Sometimes you need a bigger place, and it's not easy to find. So, yeah, a library is a good place. Really cheap. You can rent out, not rent out. Oh my gosh, you can check out gaming books there more than likely. The copying, printing is super cheap. I think my place is like a nickel a page, but you know it could have increased, dime a page, quarter a page, whatever. Quarter page seems a little much, but yeah, it's a great resource.
Yeah, you have the printer and the space, and the books that you check out are inspiration.
Oh yeah, absolutely. A lot of people don't think about that. The inspiration that goes into these games. Well, okay, we like to call it inspiration, but what is it really?
Blatant theft.
We are blatantly stealing.
Wholesale theft. That's another thing. Look, you're looking to save some money. Don't go buy a campaign book. Pick your favorite movie, pick your favorite book series, and wholesale steal their ideas.
Even your favorite video game. You want to you have a theory for a campaign with demons and devils? Diablo.
Oh yeah, definitely. Your Doom.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even if it's like you depending on the setting that you're using, but even then. I mean, I could see a Doom game happening with a good D&D group just going to hell and just fucking shit up. Oh yeah, definitely.
I mean, that's pretty much the whole plot to Descent into Avernus. So,
Mad Max in Hell. That's Descent to Avernus. It's Mad Max in Hell.
Yep.
Which is the most metal thing that has ever come out of D&D, and D&D is pretty metal to begin with. So
yeah, it's true.
I guess it isn't really a save money tip, it's just a DMing tip in general. Read as many books as you possibly can, because not only will you get campaign ideas, that character you like, that's an NPC now.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it totally is a save money tip, because there are so many dungeon masters who think that they can't make their own campaign and they have to buy the campaign books, have to buy the pre-written stuff. And you can just pick your favorite piece of media and turn it into a campaign. Save yourself that money on that campaign book.
Absolutely. No, I mean, as long as people are having fun, it doesn't matter. Ultimately, it doesn't matter. Yeah, you're going to get those people. I don't know. I think your biggest enemy in all of this is always going to be elitists.
Yeah.
Elitists are going to be your biggest threat. And you know what? You don't want to play with them anyways.
Yeah. If they tell you that your dice tower made out of a Pringles can isn't welcome at their table, you don't want to play with them anyway.
That's right. Now I have an idea for now I have my idea for a dice tower.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I want that.
Another thing, look, we're talking about saving money, and the cost of entry might seem kind of high, but the amount of money this can save you is kind of crazy. 3D printing is now like totally viable, and there are so many free STL files out there for you to 3D print. If you really want that pretty miniature, if you really want that pretty 3D terrain, if you want that pretty dice tray, dice tower, you can 3D print all that stuff. And once you have the 3D printer, the cost in filament is ridiculously low.
Now, again, if you're listening to this podcast right now, you probably don't have a 3D printer and probably can't afford one. But guess what? You probably do know someone with a 3D printer. I know that there have been some libraries that have been getting 3D printers.
Mm-hmm.
So that's absolutely a way to maybe look into it, see if there is a 3D printer at your local library. But yes, oh my gosh, you get some of those free files. You go there, you pay for the filament. You could have a whole bunch of miniatures just for like $5.
Mm-hmm. I have a friend who has the 3D printer. It'll print me just about anything I want as long as I buy him the filament, and it's excellent. You can get all kinds of really awesome stuff for your games.
Yep.
Even Hero Forge is offering your STL files now. Like, if you don't want to spend $20 to $40 on that physical mini, you can spend $8 and get the STL file and print it yourself.
Wait,
a mini that you designed.
I think that's pretty nice.
Yeah.
That's a pretty nice price.
For a custom, high-quality miniature, because, let's be honest, Hero Forge minis, for being as customizable as they are pretty high quality. To get that STL file for that cheap is a pretty good deal.
Absolutely. You know what? That's actually I think that's a really good resource. It may seem it's a lot of money for one miniature, but it's a custom miniature. So yeah, it's definitely a resource to look into.
If you've got that character that you've played over and over again at several different games, this is your go-to character, even paying them $20 to print it for you and ship it to you isn't bad if you're going to use that miniature all the time.
Mm-hmm. Say also, I know that it was like this for me when I was working in and running a game store. I know we were talking about, how sometimes going into your local game store, it's a little daunting, it's a little expensive, but you know what? I know when I was running a game store, we always had cheap game options. Like, we had beer and pretzel games. So, those are just like, really cheap, just for fun games. But we had games like Kobolds Ate My Baby, or Ninja Burger, or, there's a company called Cheap Ass Games. I'm not 100% sure if they are still in business. I would imagine that they are. Okay, so Cheap Ass Games got bought out very recently, actually, by Greater Than Games. So I'm imagining that they still have their library. I would hope that... Anyways.
I think the point that you're trying to make is if you go in and talk to your guy behind the counter at the FLGS, they can help you find stuff that'll fit your budget.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
There's also several... Look, don't make a relationship with somebody just to save money. But there are several benefits to having a good relationship with the guy behind the counter at your local game store. I know I had a pretty good relationship with the guy who ran my local game store when I was in Virginia. The place was called Atlantis Games. And they needed somebody to run their RPGA game nights. And I was looking to become a DM. So I would DM their games for them. And I got a ton of really cool free and discounted stuff from them because I was helping them out. I was helping attract more people to their store because they weren't able to run D&D games before, and now they were. So the RPGA would send them modules and DM tools, tokens, stuff like that, and they would just hand them to me and be like, "You're our RPGA DM. These are yours now."
So they were doing what the game store was intended to be doing. That's
Exactly.
what a game store should be doing.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
I was so heavy-handed with my promo stuff. If I had promo stuff, it was like, "Oh, you did this? Here's a promo card." It's like, I just came in today. I know. Thank you.
It's promo.
They gave me 40 of these promo cards, and I don't know why.
But yeah, just having a good relationship with your friendly local game store, even if you can't spend $50 on books with them, if you just go in and you get some of the cheaper stuff with them, and they get to know your face, and they know you're a good person, and that you're helping them when you can by buying things through them when you can, that comes back to you. So having a good relationship with your friendly local game store will save you money in the long run.
Agreed. 100% agreed. Because, again, as someone who has run a friendly local game store, if you have someone in there who is, not even just spending money, who is in there and helpful and genuinely helpful, I should say.
Right.
Helpful and kind, and, they go out of their way to help with tournaments or help with games, or, like you were saying, run games. They're probably going to give you stuff. I'm just telling you that right now.
Mm-hmm.
They will probably give you stuff. At the very least, you may even get a discount.
And like I said, don't seek out that relationship just to save money. But
no, because they know. I guarantee you they know.
But it's always good to be a good person, and if you're gaming anyway, that's the kind of people you want to have a relationship with anyway. They're going to have plenty of cool gaming stories to swap with you, and they're going to be cool people, and you're going to have a good time.
Absolutely.
And honestly, 90% of the time, those will be the people that help you with the cost of entry. The people who go, "Oh, you want into this hobby? Have some dice. Have this. Have that." It's like, if you want to talk about it, we can talk about it, and I'll give you a little bit of what I have extra. Like, if I can help you out. Like, whenever I went to my local game store, there were people like that.
Oh, yeah, the hobby is filled with people like that. I wasn't kidding when I said, like, dice goblins are very, very much dice grandmas. They may not prefer the term dice grandmas, but they're dice grandmas. Mm-hmm. And they will, if they see you rolling your little rinky-dinky dice, and you only have one set of dice, they are going to get a coffee cup, they're going to dip it into their bucket of dice, and they're going to give you that coffee cup filled with dice. I'm just saying.
Some of them get really passionate about it, too. Like, if you tell them about your character, like, you're like, "Oh, yeah, I really like my character. I've been playing this druid," and blah, 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 blah. They're going to go, "I have this set of green dice in my bag that I haven't touched that match your character perfectly. Here you go."
Yep. Yeah, you're just and actually, that's a really good recommendation, too, is just play. Just play.
Play and be nice.
Yeah, you'll probably get plenty of chances to just play and either A, not have to spend anything, B, get something for free. Yeah, that's the one thing too, is if you're just playing, guess what? You don't need the books. You don't need the books. Just get some dice. Go to Dollar Tree, get your dollar set of dice. Go to a game. They'll probably give you a character sheet. Mm-hmm. And in fact, I think that if it's still the same as RPGA, you can generally go to RPGA and you can get handed a character.
Yeah, Adventures League, I believe they still have pre-mades, and
Yeah.
or they'll help you make a bust out a level 1 character in no time.
Yeah, absolutely. So just go and play. That's all you got to do. If you just want to play, you don't need to spend anything except if you want is just get some dice, some cheapo dice. But honestly, again, Dice Scrammle's going to take care of you if you show up and you're like, well, I want to play, but I don't have any dice. Here you go. Play.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to do it. They're going to dump some dice in your lap and they're going to like, play. I don't have a character. Play. It's I mean, honestly, out of the three of us, we all, I'm assuming we all run games, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Think of the games that you run. Now, think of the game that takes you the longest to make a character. All right? Now, how long does it take you to make a beginning character, just a generic, just to hand somebody? How long would it take you?
Okay, if I'm doing it from scratch by the book, 5 minutes. If I use like the tools that are available for me, 2 minutes or less.
Yeah. The longest part is asking them, what kind of character do you want to be? Like, what kind of background should I give you?
And if that's taking too long, I just go, look, who do you want to be? Do you want to be Do you want to be Naruto? Do you want to be Superman? Do you want to be like, give me a character from fiction that you want to be, and we'll get as close as we can.
See, I'm not as kind. If someone comes up to me and they're like, I need a character. Cool. Shh. Here, you're a fighter. Honestly, like if I'm running D&D and they're like, I've never played before. Shh. Here, you're a barbarian.
I mean, yeah, fighter and barbarian are the best ones to give a new player.
Absolutely. And it's like, you know what? I want you to play this character. And then as you get to know this game a little better, we can change it up.
Mm-hmm.
But this is what you get to start out with. I just took 30 seconds to make this fucking character for you. Run with it. This is in bare bones too. Bare bones. You can think of his name. You can think of his background. You can think of his background while you're playing. I don't care. You know what I mean? If you're playing and you're like, oh wait, I bring up a little town and you're like, oh wait, I'm from that town. Cool. You're from that town. We'll roll with it. We will go with it. This is going to be the most. I want you to play this. I want you to be addicted to this game by the time we're done. So I'm making this work for you.
Yep. And then to get out there and play is probably the best advice. Be it get an Adventurers League at your friendly local game store. There are Facebook groups out there you can join where people are looking for people to join their games. Be safe, but there are people looking to join their games. There are.
Let me hop in there. If you're just looking for a group to go and play a game with, go to your local game store.
Yeah.
Don't go to anybody's house. Not yet.
Yeah, don't go to somebody's house that you don't know. But if your friends are looking for or running games, a lot of the Facebook groups I was talking about, like there are game stores that don't have Adventurers League, but there are people who run games at those stores.
Yep.
There are websites where you can hire a DM and they can meet you at a game store and run a game. There are websites where you can sign up for games via Discord, so you don't have to go to anybody's house. You can just meet people online and play.
Well,
you can go.
I think Roll20 actually does that, doesn't it?
Yeah, it has a looking for game feature.
Mm-hmm. You can go to Casters Guild Discord and find the channel Game Master for Hire. And there's at least one, possibly quite a few, game masters that you can pay to run a game for you.
You know what? And honestly, if you're part of our Discord and you were wanting to learn how to play, man, I'll tell you what, you ask the right people, your guild masters included, we will probably run a game for free.
Yeah, first one's free.
First one's free.
And a lot of the stuff that we were talking about is all included with something. Like, if I run a game for you, you get access to my D&D Beyond, which has, like, every book. I'm gonna, if I have the ability to do so, if I have to mail it to you, I'm gonna give you a set of dice. That's just who I am. You know? So yeah, I think get out there and play whatever it takes is probably some of the best advice we can for how to do it on a budget. Whatever your budget is, if you just go to a game, they're gonna fit it. Be that budget free, be that budget $20, whatever it is that you can afford, they're gonna fit that budget.
Yep.
The one thing I'm gonna say with the just like find a game and play, try if it is your first time playing, try to find a group with at least someone you know.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely. Yes.
Don't
yeah.
like the biggest thing I've seen is people go, "Oh, I joined my first game off this Reddit group, this looking for group, or this Roll20 group, and it was horrible." It's like there are a lot that aren't great. But if you go with people that you know, like if you go to your local game store, you're like, "Oh, I kind of know that guy," and they're playing D&D, go try and introduce yourself.
Yeah, it's one of those things where the only reason I recommend those groups is there's some people who like just don't have the resource. You know, some people just don't know anybody who plays D&D and just still really want to play. So I would say like step 1, play with your friends. If you absolutely positively can't play with your friends, friendly local game store, Adventurers League. If they don't have Adventurers League, they might have somebody who plays at that store anyway. See if they're open to taking a new player. And, like, you know, it steps up from there. But, you know, always be safe and go with the most familiar possible option.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you need a little bit of that comfort to be able to play and learn. I think that if you don't have that comfort, it's going to be a little hard because you're going to have all that pressure. You're going to put that pressure on yourself whether you like it or not. And it's not going to be conducive to the learning process.
The other thing is, if none of your friends want to play D&D, if you don't know anybody who wants to play D&D, yes, you do. They just haven't told you yet.
Or you haven't paid attention enough.
Yeah, like if you ask around, like even people who aren't nerds, aren't geeks, like they've watched an episode of Stranger Things and went, you know what, I would try that. And even if like it's just you and a couple of your friends and you have to be the DM the first time, you know, it's honestly not that hard. We've talked about it on past episodes. That's better than like finding a group of strangers. You know what I mean? I'd rather teach myself the game, which I've done several times with several games. One of the easiest ways to teach yourself how to play the game is create a character. But yeah, if you don't know anybody who wants to play Dungeons & Dragons, yes, you do. Just ask around.
Mm-hmm.
Put yourself out there.
Yeah, that's going to be your biggest hurdle, is putting yourself out there.
Yeah. It's not, D&D doesn't have the stigma it once did. You aren't a social pariah because you're into D&D anymore. It's way too popular now.
You're one of the cool kids now.
Yeah.
So yeah, tons of ways to save a buck when trying to have a little bit of fun. I think the key here is don't be afraid to put yourself out there. Reach out, ask some questions, and let people know that you're new and don't really have the resources to play. Because guess what? Gaming is a community, and we are all going to come together to make sure that we can all have the most fun as humanly possible. Before we go ahead and wrap this up, I will say that if anybody out there is wanting to learn how to play D&D, I'm just going to throw this out there. If you come and join our Discord, I'll run a game. I may run a few games, free of charge. I'm not charging for this. You come in, you play, you get to know the game, you get to know gaming. Learning the entire system will be up to you. But learning how to game, learning how to have fun with gaming, I can teach you. And then after that, it's up to you.
Yeah, just head to our Game Master for Hire channel. You don't necessarily have to reach out to anybody who has posted themselves for hire in that channel. You just put, I'd like to learn how to play D&D, or I'd like to learn how to game in Game Master for Hire. We will find you.
Yep, absolutely.
KCT, if anybody liked what you had to say and they want to find you anywhere else on the internet, where can they do that?
I post extremely irregularly on TikTok at Discord Dad. I stream every once in a while on Killer Christmas Tree GC. Killer Christmas Tree was taken, so the GC is just a gaming channel. And I've recently been really digging deep into my Patreon, where I'm posting free things of lore on monsters and reworking some of the ones that can be a little boring to fight and run. And then I'm also making battle maps for like virtual tabletops as well. So you can find me there on Patreon/Discord, Dad.
You can find all of those links in the description down below. Email us at castersguild@gmail.com. Send your birthday wishes for the spawn, and let us know what your tips for saving some money on gaming are, and we just might share them with the community. We probably will share them with the community. If you email us and tell us anything, we're probably going to share it.
We definitely will.
Yeah.
Well, as long as they're not even if they're NSFW, we probably will still.
It'll be somewhere on the Discord.
Probably in the bear den. So.
Check us out on all the socials. We still have that charity 24-hour stream coming up. So follow us on Twitch so you've been notified when we go live for that. And we will see you in the next one. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. See you later. Bye.
Bye.
Go play a game.